So, Mark, I understand that it's your first time in China, right?
That's true.
I'd like you to share your impression, your first impression regarding China.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say I started in Shanghai. I spent 4 days there. I'm now on day 2 in Beijing. It's impossible to have a complete impression of somewhere from 6 days. But when I was asked after 4 days in Shanghai to describe my impression, I used 2 words to describe it, which was blown away. Simply blown away. I'm blown away by the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm blown away by the infrastructure that exists here. I'm blown away by and I'm staggered by the size of the national opportunity in China. And as we talked briefly at lunch, one of the things I told you that surprised me, I mean, I've lived all over the world. I've lived in 6 countries on 3 continents. And have lots of experiences in working and living in multiple places. Almost everywhere I've been that's a developing country, if I could say so, was trying to figure out how to serve international markets. What staggered me was how everybody that I met here was focused on the Chinese market, because the opportunity is that big and that compelling. And I saw a spirit from the international people working in Shanghai, so excited to be here. And it reminded me of Europe in the mid-90s, where lots of Americans and other people were traveling there and excited by the opportunities there. But China is that on steroids. Amazing.
I understand you started, I mean, you're very successful repeat entrepreneurs. You started your first company in France, and not in France actually. You sold it to a French.
I sold it to a French company. We started in the UK.
Yeah, so that means that you can understand French people when they speak.
We started in the UK. We ended in France.
You ended in France. No, that's great, because that makes the communication much easier. You can understand my French accent without any problem, right?
Bah ouais.
And you sold your second company to Salesforce.com.
That's true.
And now you're a venture capitalist with mainly activities based in the US and in the Los Angeles area in particular.
Yes.
Do you plan any investment in China soon, or do you plan to start creating some subsidiaries? Or?
Well, you chose one word that gives me a clear answer. You said soon, so my answer is no. I don't plan to invest in the near term in China. Why? It's hard enough to make investments in California, where I spent most of my life before I moved abroad, and to know what determines success and failure, to understand the psychology of the entrepreneur. And so much of success is determined by the person more than the technology or the hubris. And to think I could hope to understand that in China would be wrong. So I think the question is, what do I hope to gain from my experiences? And for me, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn about the new opportunities. I heard about Tencent many years ago, and I came to the United States and I told everybody that virtual goods were going to be a huge monetization opportunity, and everybody laughed. And I wonder who's laughing now. And what they said, honestly, was, oh, that's Asia. Asia's different. That's crazy. That's crazy thinking. Asia's different. The reality is that we have a lot to learn from what's going on here. And I want to understand what the sources of new innovation and opportunities are. I got a chance to hear 3G CN talking before Dave McClure and myself. I want to find out what's coming next and be prepared for that in the US. I want US companies to come spend time in China and understand and form international relations with these people and business development. I was talking with a gentleman earlier who runs a company in the mobile ad space. I made an investment in the mobile ad space in the US, and I said to him, why don't I connect you with the CEO of the company I made an investment in? You guys aren't competitive. We're focused right now on US. You're focused right now on China. Why don't we learn from each other? You know, we have similar experiences and different ones, and why don't we share? And that's really why I'm here. In the long run, would I love to find a way to be able to make investments in China? Absolutely. But I'm humble enough to know that I wouldn't be ready.
Okay, you've been a first-time entrepreneur, of course, before being a second time. That's just logical. Don't call me smart.
You French are so smart.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And you have plenty in China. We have plenty of entrepreneurs. We have plenty of repeat entrepreneurs, but we have, in particular, plenty of first-time entrepreneurs. I've been a first-time entrepreneur myself. I know how hard it is to raise money. I know how easy it is to raise money when you've been successful with your first venture. So I've been following your blog for a long time already. I'm a huge fan of yours. Not in the same passionate and crazy way as my friend. Sorry again. I apologize on his behalf.
The Westin Hotel. I'm staying at the Westin Hotel.
Yeah, don't worry, you're safe here again, as I said today also. But, so my question is, do you have any opinions, advice, recommendation for first-time entrepreneurs who are here for us here in the room and who are following us also on TechCrunch TV and Information Week TV online?
Sure. If I could say so, and I mean this in a positive way, China is a first-time entrepreneur. China, as a nation, should seek to learn from our successes and our failures of launching many businesses, the way that first-time entrepreneurs should seek to learn from people who have been through it before. I like to tell people, my first company, I made absolutely every mistake in the book. I raised too much money. I hired too many people. I launched in too many countries. I charged too much money. I turned down an offer to sell the company when I should have sold. I made every mistake. And from that humility, I was able to launch a second company where I made 0 mistakes. Really, 0. If I would have been around longer, I'm sure I would have made many, but I was able to exit before making any. That's why I tell people I like second-time entrepreneurs. You know, they're more humble. They've been through the hype cycle. We all go through this hype cycle where we believe everything that the press says about us. And then we raise money. And then we hire staff. And then everybody says we're great. And then we do biz dev deals. And then one day, you know, we kind of come over the other side where we didn't hit our revenue targets, and new competitors launch, and new people capture the press. And we've been at it for 3 or 4 years, and evenings and weekends are getting harder and harder to work. And you develop that humility. And I think the humility is important to succeed in business. So that's what I would say. I hope that I can convince more Americans and more Europeans, but I spend more time in America, to spend time in China. And I think we would learn, and I think we could teach. And it would be a symbiotic relationship that we would both benefit from.
Over lunch, we had lunch together. Over lunch, we were mentioning how you managed to decide one of our common friends, who's been a key executive for a long time, to create his own company. Yeah. And it was very convincing. And I am wondering, you've been a key executive at Andersen Consulting before you started your first venture.
Yep.
So what decided you to basically live kind of happy life of executive to start your own business?
Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, once spoke at a prominent US university. And what he said at their commencement speech was, none of you guys are ever going to be hugely successful. And this was one of the top universities in all the US, and everybody had their jaws hitting the table. And he said, okay, you're going to make lots of money and you're going to work for big prominent companies, but because you're going to work for Goldman Sachs or McKinsey and the best companies out there, your life is going to be safe. And you're not going to take risks, and you're not going to swing for the fences, and you're not going to do anything extraordinary because you will be in this position of privilege. And at Anderson Consulting, that's somewhat what happened to me. I was there. It was a great career. I was earning a lot of money. They were sending me all over the world. I was flying business class, which is nice. And life was very good. And when you get in that cocoon, it's very hard to make the leap and go and do it for yourself. I think China has a lot of that because there's a lot of family pressure. I think in China to work for big companies with prestigious names where your parents can be proud and tell all their friends. And we have that same pressure. But leaving and taking control of your own life and your own destiny has huge highs and huge lows, but ultimately is a much more rewarding existence in the long run. So I stuck around too long. I was at Accenture more than 8 years. It was Anderson Consulting at the time.
At the time.
Yeah. And, it's a shame. In many ways, I wish I would have started younger. My first company, I started at 31.
Yeah, it's basically what you were telling me over lunch, the difference between the time to earn, the time to learn, and the time to earn, right?
Yeah, look, when you're early in your career, you don't have to try to maximize how much money you have. For me, it's about maximizing your learning and your opportunities. You also, you're at your highest a point where you can make risks because you tend not to have a house and a payment. You tend not to be married or have kids and the things that make you more conservative. So I don't think leave it too long. But again, I think there's a huge benefit of humility, of learning, of being around great people. And the more you learn, then you will be ready at the right point to earn. But the other mistake happens too, which is you spend your whole life looking up to people, and then one day you don't realize that you're the person that everybody's looking up to, and you're looking for more people to look up to. And I think that's the point at which not enough people make the leap. So our mutual friend that I was saying, I said, he was one of the top people at Facebook, as you know, and that was a company going like this. And I said, look, you're done learning. Now's the time to go take some risk and try to earn.
And we'll maintain the suspense on his identity.
Only because it's on video.
Exactly. And we'll see how good an advice it was. But it's probably a winner.
If he doesn't earn, I promise you, the earnings that he will get as a human being will have been worth it.
Definitely. All right, so thank you so much, Mark. It was a pleasure to have you on board, and I'm sure you will join us next year.
Bien sûr.
Okay, merci.
Thank you, Frank and Mark. Wonderful.